everybody, how you doing? Welcome to a new segment I'm going to do here, or a new little series. I'm calling this Great Record Reviews from a Drummer's Perspective. What am I going to try to do here? I'm going to talk about the drum parts on a total album. By some drummers who we all know are great, and some drummers who you may not think are great, but I'm going to show how what I think they did on a particular album is great. And I'm going to couple this with a follow-up video next week demonstrating some of the things that I think are great about what they did, and really showing you how to play it. So today I have chosen one of my favorite albums of all time, Abbey Road by the Beatles, right? We all know that album. It was the last album that the Beatles ever recorded. It was not released last, but it was the last one that they recorded. And we all know there was a lot of problems going on in the band and tension and stuff like that and all sorts of the troubles. We've all heard all the stories, and YouTube is filled with guys who know some little tidbit of information that you've never heard. Well, whatever. It's still a great album. We're going to go track by track, and we're going to talk about Ringo's contribution to this album. So let's start with Come Together. All right? Come Together. We all know about the very, very famous triplet lick that Ringo played, right? It starts out with a little cymbal thing and it goes to triplets on the hi-hat, and I have a video. I forget what I named the video, but I'm going to put a little piece of it in this, right? Or in the second video, when I do the follow-up video, I'll put a little piece of it where I demonstrate Come Together. Right? Because I'm going to go, in the second video, I'm going to go track by track as well, and just show the really cool stuff that Ringo did. And again, not every song, just the stuff that I think could use demonstration. All right? So Come Together. Now, we all know at this time, Paul and John were not really writing together anymore. And we know from Ringo's stories that Paul would come in with the songs completely done. He would tell George what he kind of wanted, and John, and sometimes he would even demonstrate to Ringo what he wanted him to play on the tune. You know, Paul really had all of his stuff done by the time he came to the studio, most of the time, not all the time. John, according to Ringo, was the opposite. John would come in with a skeleton and let the band sort of flesh it out. So, Come Together is a John Lennon song. It's sort of a little bit of a rip-off on some Chuck Berry licks. And when I say rip-off, you know, more like honoring. I would venture to guess that maybe John told Ringo that he was thinking of something kind of, you know, tom-tom-ish, maybe heavy, something really heavy. He might have even just said that, I want something really heavy. Maybe that's what he told him. I don't know, I wasn't there. But Ringo comes up with this pattern to go with the bass line that, you know, I'm sorry, it's a stroke of genius. You can listen to all the cover versions of that song. I think Guns N' Roses has one, I'm not sure actually. I know Aerosmith did one, right? There are several different cover versions of that tune. And in each one of them, the drummer who's playing on it does some variation of that triplet figure that Ringo plays on the tom-toms. He does some part of it. Sometimes they leave out the hi-hat part, right? Because you can't play the song Come Together without paying honor to that tom-tom triplet figure. You can't do it. It is truly a song part. It is not just some groove that they were jamming on. No, that is an integral, and that's a really cool word. You didn't think I could say integral, right? You thought I don't know, but it is an integral part of that tune. Extremely important part of that tune, right? So this is what makes Ringo such a great song drummer. Yeah. Is it something that, you know, Vinnie Colaiuta would have to woodshed? No. I didn't even really have to woodshed it. You know, I'm a regular guy, whatever. Yeah, I'm a professional drummer, but most guys wouldn't have to woodshed it that much. It's not very hard. If you look at my video, like, you know, it's a short video, I think 10 minutes long, and I teach you how to play it. Not a big deal, but the fact that he came up with it, I think 9 out of 10 drummers would have played maybe a tom-tom groove, you know, boom, boom, like he does in the verses, but they would not have come up with that triplet figure. They would have thought it was too busy or something. And kudos to the Beatles, to John, hearing that and not going, you know, hey Ringo, could you tone it down a little bit? No, they heard it and they said, that's it, right? And that part, you know, and everybody knows that Steve Gadd is my guy, but that part, that's up there with things like 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Yeah, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover is a little more intricate, but it's up there with parts that are so crucial to the song that the song cannot be the song without the part. All right? So from a drummer's perspective, A+++. Let's move on to the next track. Something. Okay, a lot of people think this is one of the best songs that George ever wrote. I would agree. I think there are two, and they're both on this album. So something, you know, okay, so what's Ringo doing? He's playing a ballad. He's, you know, it's just, you know, very easy. He's got, you know, kind of 1 and 3, or sometimes boom, bop, boom, boom. Sometimes he's doing that, right? Very simple, but until you get to the bridge. And then Ringo does this triplet thing. Now it's down on the mix. It might have been too loud, and they pull it down in the mix because it was kind of busy. But he does this triplet thing, which I'm going to demonstrate to the best of my knowledge. It's kind of hard to hear exactly what he's playing, but I'm going to tell you what I think he's playing. Again, in the next video, it drives that bridge. It drives it. You know, you've got this very calm, behind the beat feel that Ringo is giving this tune in the verses and the guitar solo. And then the bridge, he just drives that puppy. He switches from just, you know, maybe 1 and 3, or like I said, I think he does 1 and 3 and sometimes, but he switches to every 8th note or 4 on the floor, depending how you're counting it, you know, dun 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 dun. You know, again, he's just killing that. Maybe he was in a triplet mood because of Come Together. I don't know. I don't think they did these songs that way. I heard that Ringo said he had some calfskin heads on his drums during some of those sessions, and he really liked playing the tom-toms because they sounded so good. So it could have been that. I don't know. But when you listen to the rehearsals on that, Ringo's really playing a beat. You know, just leaving it as a beat. So I don't know when it happened where he switched over to that frenzied. It really is frenzied, but that's what that part needed. It's so calm, and then frenzy, and then we're back to calm again. It would not have felt so frenzied had Ringo not done that triplet thing. So again, I'm going to show that to you in the next video. Moving right along, we got Maxwell Silver Hammer. If there ever was a Beatles song that I don't like, that's one of them. Don't know what you were thinking, Paul? We're not going to talk about it. Moving on. Oh Darlin'. So in Oh Darlin', they're paying honor or homage to Fats Domino, Sam Cooke, and you know, they're pretty much doing like you would expect them to do. But what does Ringo do in those sections leading up to the bridge? He does those triplets off the 6/8 or 12/8, depending how you're counting it, right? So he's going 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6, and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6, and he does it quiet. And he was probably playing. He was left-handed, so I would venture to guess he was going not a left, right, left, but he was probably going left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, because he does it so quiet and so controlled. And again, the song is just, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when he brings in those triplets, oh man, he just takes the energy level of that tune from a 6 to a 10. bringing you to those Paul screams. How could you do it any other way? I bet you most drummers would have thought that was too much. Because he does an entire bar of triplets in the 6, which would, well, in the 12, which would be 2 bars of the 6. Amazing, amazing. As far as energy, man, kudos again to Ringo. What a masterpiece of song drumming. Again, a masterpiece of song drumming. This brings us to Octopus's Garden. That's a Ringo song. It's cute. Nothing in there is all that special. We're going to keep moving on. Cute song, nice. I don't dislike it. You know, I don't love it. I don't dislike it. It's not like Maxwell Silverhammer, where I will get up from my couch, go to my manual turntable, pick up the needle, and pass over Maxwell Silverhammer because I can't stand that song. But it's cute, and I'll listen to it, and I'll go to the, and I'll listen through to get to the final song on side 1, which is I Want You, and in parentheses, She's So Heavy. And so now here, Ringo's not doing necessarily anything that's that crazy, but he just goes through several different feels. You've got the 6/8 feel, which is the kind of like the main hook of that tune, and then you've got he's got that verse, the verses where he does it as a halftime feel, he does it as a mambo. They do the mambo at 2 different tempos, and then the 6/8 feel. So he's got like 4 different things going on there. It's just very cool. I don't know. I'd like to know who came up with the mambo. Did John maybe say to Ringo, I'd like to have a mambo here? Just because, the boom, 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 bop, boom, 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 bop. I just think that's so cool that he did that. Because he could have just went boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, and it would have worked just fine, and it wouldn't have really taken away that much from the song, but he does that mambo, and it just draws your attention to it a little bit because it's just left of center, and I love that. I love when drummers do stuff like that. Like I said, it goes along with Ringo. Come Together, the triplets in Oh Darling, the triplets in Something, you think he's going to do this, or every other drummer would have done this, and Ringo does that. And that's what makes him so cool. And it puts him up there, not on a technical level, not on a technique level, but it put from a song drummer perspective on with guys like Gadd, who will tell you that they love Ringo. All those dudes will tell you. Vinnie Colaiuta will say one of his favorite drummers is Ringo. So let's move along to side 2. Now, side 2 of Abbey Road is one of those sides that once I put the needle down, I'm stuck for 20 minutes or 23 minutes, whatever it is. I'm going to listen to that thing all the way through. All the way through. Because side 2 is a piece. Let's start with my favorite Harrison tune, Here Comes the Sun. It's track 1 on side 2. And so if you know the story, Harrison wrote it in his garden with Clapton. They were up all night, and Harrison was going through a lot of stuff with the contract negotiations at Abbey Road, or Apple Records rather. And there were problems in his marriage, some of it caused by Clapton, so I don't know how that all works out. But he comes up with the riff of Here Comes the Sun, and he fleshes out the tune over the next 3-4 weeks. And so what I want to mention in that tune is the bridge. Sun, 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 here we come. I'm no singer, so don't.
People are talking about people. I just ignore them, but they keep us saying we laugh just a little too loud.
But there are 3 meters going on in that section. It's a 3-bar phrase, each bar a different meter. Now this harkens back to Indian music, which everything was a beat, right? And you might have a phrase that had 27 beats in it, and that's the idea. So you have, but if we break it down in American terminology, or our terms today, we have the very first bar, which would be really 11/8, You know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. The second bar, which is using the eighth note, but the eighth note is constant, a regular 4/4, and Ringo plays it just like a regular 4/4 groove. But then we have the last bar, which is a bar of 7/8. Most folks, when I hear them play 7/8, most drummers, I put myself in that frame, they play it and it sounds like the record skipping. You know, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, right? The record skipping, where we're losing that last eighth note of the 4/4. Ringo, genius, he does a syncopated fill over the 7/8. So you don't notice that it's 7/8. You don't notice. And it doesn't sound like the record skipping. It sounds very natural. And if you really got to know, and I'm going to demonstrate this in the next video, so stay tuned for next week. He's going 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7. That's the count on that. That's the basic fill. He does little variations, but that's the basic fill. I counted 1 E and a 2 and a 3 and 4, and I just lop off that last eighth note. It's easier to count it that way, and I think it gives it a better feel. Ringo did that a couple of times through the career of the Beatles, where he put in fills over tough rhythmical sections, and it sort of covered a multitude of sins. And what I mean by that is things that might be perceived by the audience as not smooth, it makes it feel smooth. That's your job as a drummer, folks. That's your job as a drummer. You smooth over those rough edges, right? Again, beautiful, beautiful choices. From my understanding of George's way of writing, he didn't write that out for Ringo. He didn't tell Ringo what to play. He just said, Ringo always did what I wanted him to do, just naturally. Case closed. Now, there's Because, right? That's another one of those songs. It's a beautiful song from John Lennon. It's not like Maxwell Silverhammer. If I'm in the mood, I'm going to listen to that whole album. But if I'm in the car and I'm driving home from a gig at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to hit the button and skip over that tune. All right, because it'll put me to sleep. But it is a beautiful, beautiful song. But there's no drums in it, so let's move on to the long one, or the very famous medley. All right, let's move on to that. So, I, for years, thought that the Beatles just took a bunch of little pieces of music and spliced it all together. Now, they did do some stuff with faders on it, but when you watch all the interviews, they played a lot of those tracks straight through. They set up and got the rhythm tracks from start to finish. Most of it they just ran right through them. And there's some really cool meter changes and all that Ringo plays great, but I want to draw attention to the drum solo in the end. And that's the song The End. So there's a really cool meter change which I'll demonstrate in the next video, getting into this song, from the one motif that continuously happens, which is that do 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 do, right? And then they get into the end, and Ringo does those 8 bars that we all know, bum 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 bum, right? He does those 8 bars, and I gotta say this. So I got to play that with Carnival Cruise Lines in a 1,200-seat theater, 2 or 4 times a week, depending the ship I was on, and I got to play it with my band, Abbey Road 2.0, in front of lots of crowds. Crowds as small as 50 people, crowds as high as 1,500 people, and that's including Carnival and my band. All sorts of ways I played that solo with my Abbey Road band, or Beatles band, Beatles tribute band, and we did feature selections from Abbey Road. That is probably the most air-drummed 8 bars of drumming in drumming history. I said that word a lot. That is, I'm going to say it again, that is probably the most air-drummed by the civilian 8 bars of drum soloing in drum soloing history. Right? Is Vinnie Colaiuta have to woodshed it? No. Did Neil Peart hear it and think, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it? No. No. But I don't think there is 8 bars of drumming that more people can quote, sing, air drum, play on their legs, whatever. So if your point when you do something is to do something that nobody can do, okay, you can impress a few people. But the population, when you're playing music, it's about communication. It's about me expressing my emotions, what I think, my feelings to you. And if you can't figure out what I'm doing, well, maybe I haven't expressed it. If I'm using a lot of words you don't understand, maybe I can't express it. Now, do I like listening to Vinnie Colaiuta solos? Of course I do. I love Vinnie. Gadd, I told you, Gadd is my guy. I have demonstrated his stuff on the channel. I love Steve Gadd. And playing that stuff will make you a better drummer and give you better facilitation to do a good job. However, when you want to communicate to millions and millions and millions of people, billions of people, Ringo had it right. Right? He had it right. I don't think there's another 8 bars that compares to them as far as being able to speak to billions of people. I hope Ringo lives another 80 years. I think he's 80 or maybe he's 90. I don't know. He's up there. 80, 82. I don't know. I don't know how old he is. But I hope he lives another 80 years in good health. But long after he's gone, people on the Enterprise in the 24th century are still going to be talking about or singing when they, listen to that album on their holodeck. That's right. I said holodeck. And if you don't know what that is, watch some Star Trek, people. Watch some Star Trek. Maybe that's what's wrong. Maybe we're not watching enough Star Trek. That drum solo has stood the test of time and will stand the test of time. It's 8 bars that everybody loves. So, I should be so lucky that on a record, I play 8 bars that 100 years from now, people are still air drumming. Okay? So I hope you got something out of this. Please, if you don't like it or whatever, tell me, hey, we like the instruction, but we don't like the talking head. That's fine. Like I said, I never make any decisions on what people say anyway. I'll make it on how I feel. But stay tuned for the next one because I'm going to take a couple of those tracks. I'll probably edit in the previous one on Come Together and then maybe a little bit of something if I can figure it out. Of course, maybe a little bit of Oh Darling, Here Comes the Sun, the bridge, and the end. Getting into the end, which is actually really very interesting how they got into the end. And I'm going to try to do that all next week in under 15 minutes, so pray for me. Okay, anyway, hope you got something out of this. Hope you like it. I hope you love Abbey Road. If you haven't heard Abbey Road, go get it now. I'll wait. All right. See you on the next one.